other than Canon Garth Minott. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Pavel. And he'll be giving his views on the question, do you think that the pandemic has a high impact on how customer service is delivered versus before the pandemic? Hi again, Father. How are you?
Very good, thanks. And it's such a
good.
wonderful thing to be here and to interact with your audience. Such a delight to.
Thank you. We welcome you too.
Thank you so much, definitely. Yes. So the pandemic, in terms of customer service, of course, customer service, in my view, is just to, look after people. Be kind to people, be caring, be compassionate, be loving, etc. Because the more of that we put out is the more business
the more
that
you
get.
generate.
Because up to recent times I've been to business places, and of course this is now post-pandemic, but the service was poor. And
this is before the pandemic.
This is subsequent to the pandemic.
Okay.
But what we find is that businesses that were doing well before the pandemic and they sort of increased their customer service output.
Oh.
With the pandemic.
Right.
They are doing much greater business. Now.
Would you say that this is a reason probably that persons, they have less staff coming in? That persons are probably working from home, so there's more time for them to actually attend to customers versus having multiple things. One person doing multiple things that they don't have time to be just meeting that client need.
Definitely, yeah. I think there are a number of things going on simultaneously. So one is just the core importance of customer service. That when I used to work before I started working in the church many years ago, my boss would say, it's the customers that pay you.
That's it.
So therefore,
without the customers, there's no pay, no job. That's so true.
So therefore, we love customers.
Yes.
We adore customers. We court customers.
Yes.
If we don't see a customer for a couple of days, we start fret, but we also call them. And we never had cell phone in those days, so it was the landline, and we would call because for every customer we call, that's our salary. Yes. For every customer that we're in touch with, that pays the bill. And so
they actually feel like they are getting what they're paying for.
Absolutely, value for money, definitely. So you have some businesses that had that prior to the pandemic. True, with the pandemic, and people are working from home, they move their offices to home, and so on. So obviously now you probably have a smaller group of people that are interacting with the customers. And so what you find now with the pandemic is that the few people interacting with the public and with customers become more stressed. And so sometimes you go and you see them trying, but that they're under pressure. Yes. Because what 3 people used to do
is
one person now.
That is so true.
And therefore you find that they get disillusioned. But they know they have to work. And they know that this is what pays the bill. And so they have to put the best outside. Coupled with that is just the stresses and strains of the pandemic. They said, your family members who either are COVID positive, family members that have died as a result of COVID, family members that are probably still sick in hospital or at home. Plus you have the vulnerability. So you may not have a family member who is sick, but if your family member has sickle cell, or if your family member has
any
other underlying condition, it's a worry. And especially again if they're not taking the vaccine, it complicates things. So I think it's a myriad of things that contribute to just the stresses and strains of people that will contribute to the downside of customer service. But to be fair, and I've seen it, despite the stresses, there are those, like I said earlier, who for them this pays me. and I could have a million things that are worrying me and stressing me out, etc. I am going to put the best outside. I am going to do the best. No matter that, after my shift or my time is finished, you know, I'm exhausted. I just crash.
Yes.
I can't do anything.
Yeah.
No matter that.
Yeah.
Once I face the customers, I am going to give it 100%.
Right.
And the truth is, when you do that, it's not just for the company. It's for you.
Yeah.
Because at the baseline, as I said earlier, it's paying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, certainly from me, from a faith point of view, it builds character, it builds strength, it builds courage, it builds a sense of commitment and dedication.
Yeah.
Because each time you rise above the limitations of the challenges,
Your face, yes.
You know, it's difficult, but I was reading something recently where the writer says, the deeper we go in suffering is the more we have the capacity to love.
Because it's that to appreciate.
Absolutely,
yes.
You see, and I connect that to customer service. That the more we struggle with customers, with clients, with interactions and so on, is the more capacity we develop to be good customer service agents.
Yes.
And therefore the customer service agent need not feel that because I'm so depressed, I'm so flat, and things are not going well at work, and not going well at home, that is the end of the world. And truth be told, certainly here in Jamaica with the rate of vaccination so low, we have a long time to go. So we can't even talk about post-pandemic because this is just a long. I thought, you know, a year and a half would have been out
but
of
it
COVID.
has extended.
So we have some ways.
We have some time. Yes. Alright, so you have said some valuable things and some things that I can actually relate to as well as being a customer service, in the field of customer service. Sometimes it is hard for us when we are under the weather and we have our personal things to take care of as well. And as you pointed out, that's what pays the bills. So that's our momentum to think, this is my job. If I don't have this, what's gonna happen to me? So we have to give out that full 100. And I said it in one of my videos that every customer that enters your business or comes for any information, their expectations are already at 100 until they feel a sense of dissatisfaction. So you are supposed to give that 100 in order for them to leave the door and say, yes, I got exceptional service. So we have to try and balance our personal and work to make things go kind of smooth in a sense.
That is so true, in that every customer who comes before you probably had a bad night, probably either never slept at all or got just barely 2-3 hours. They're probably even anxious coming to you.
Right, true.
And so, you know, they spend all night, you know, they probably could barely afford the service that they're going to get. So they have to scrape out money to their savings and so on to come.
Yeah.
So they come before you. They may look like they're smiling and so on, but they're carrying burdens.
That's true.
You know?
That is true.
And so they come to you, really, truth be told, they're looking for some healing. No, not healing in the way I mean.
Sometimes they want to just vent and just talk.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you as a customer service agent, you have to know when to draw the line and when to actually continue. Because some customers will come with a whole sum of just everything.
Absolutely.
And you have your work to do, you have other customers, you want to please everybody across the board. So that is something that I think I will also touch base on when you should draw the line with customers, but keeping them satisfied.
Well, I dabble in some counseling too.
Yes.
And in counseling, we have a thing called boundary.
Right.
And so before the session, we do a kind of contracting. So we say, you know, this session is going to be for an hour. So we know that after an hour we can crash.
Right.
That kind of thing. We say that I, as the counselor, will not share anything personal with you because that requires that's part of the professional boundary.
Right.
And you can feel free to share anything. Also, you have to know your limitations.
Yes.
So you're a customer service agent. You're not a pastor. You're not a counselor. You're not an economist. You're not a professor or a scientist, etc. So when all these other questions come as a customer service agent, you have to say, you know, that's an idea, you know.
Yes.
But I can't deal with that one today. You know,
yeah,
why don't
just
you check
find
it
a way, right, to kind of
yeah.
divert it, or say I would love to listen somewhere, but I have other persons to attend to, but in the most polite way.
Definitely, yeah. So boundaries are important, but also what we call professional boundaries. You're a customer service agent for the company.
Yes.
You are acting for and on behalf of the company.
You're basically like the face of the
company.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes. So therefore, you can't begin to solve all the world's problems in this context because that's not what the company is paying you to do. The company is paying you to sell its products and services, and therefore you concentrate on those things, and it helps. It helps you and it helps the customer as well.
Alright, so in summary, Father, versus before the pandemic, when you know everybody is at work, everybody's there, you cannot get somebody, versus no, I kind of find it, I don't even know, because some places that I will try to reach out to, and this is via phone versus face to face, it takes forever. Versus before, and even though they're working from home, I'm assuming they're working from home, everybody I guess is using that same form of network to reach out. So it is lengthy.
Definitely. Well, I know one business place that I interacted with recently, and what they tell me is that because of the work from home, less people are in the physical space. And then what I discovered is the few people who are there don't want to use the landlines because of COVID. So I don't know who touched this line, and I don't care that it was sanitized and cleansed and purified. I don't know. So what I found is, in calling the place, I couldn't get through at all.
Because they're not answering.
So I physically went there, and what I saw was the agents have their cell phones. So they give to specific customers their cell number and say, if you want anything or you want to call me on my cell phone. So the landline is not at all. But it goes back to what I said earlier about people just trying to survive in the midst of the pandemic and the stresses of the fear of infection. You know your friends have died, family members have died, and you would rather not come in. But since the employer says you have to come in, then you try to protect yourself in the space as much as possible. So part of the challenge. So before the pandemic, I think people are under stress. I mean, we shouldn't be naive into thinking that it's COVID that causes stress. People, low salaries, stresses at the workplace, etc. So that existed before COVID. You had some companies, that shall be nameless, that really had good customer service and did well, whereas others struggled because of poor customer service. I think it's fair to say that still exists.
It's still so it's
good customer service, poor customer service.
Whether the pandemic or not.
Right, but the pandemic has created additional stresses. So if your customer service was bad before COVID and you didn't do anything to improve it just simply gets worse. If your customer service was excellent before the pandemic, it may have taken a beating, and so it's less. So if it was excellent, it's probably good. You see? Funny enough, however, there are others whose customer service was poor before the pandemic, but they have done the requisite training and upgrade and so on.
They have no elevator themselves and nice. Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag, I would say. It's not a black and white area, but and truth be told, if you look at the overall economy, Jamaica's economy is growing. It shocked me at first, but I understand that. For example, it's not rocket science in that remittances has gone up during the pandemic.
So there's some benefits.
So it means that money is coming into the country, and of course some companies have gone out of business, but others are doing fairly well in the process.
And some are still struggling, but trying to keep the doors open.
Definitely.
In order to keep the doors open, their customer service have to be top notch.
Brilliant.
Yes. So thank you again, Faldo, for taking the time out. And thank you guys listeners once again, and also welcoming Father Garth for giving his views on the question. Do you think that the pandemic has caused a high impact on how customer service is delivered before and no? So stay tuned guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube. Remember, we're open to suggestions. This is a learning platform. So if you have any feedback, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free. Don't hide. We're here. Bye.